Once the pre-production stage is done, now we're moving on to the production stage, which is the actual filming take place on studio with the set in green screen or real location. There's not too much involvement from the VFX studios on the production side because this is the stage when the directors actually start shooting the films, actors are involved and things like that, right? Um, but in many cases, when the movie is being shot, either the on-set supervisor for VFX are always present, and they usually give advice or the recommendation when they shoot the video, so they fully aware of how the VFX or how CG will be integrated into the live footage. Okay. So the third stage, what we call a post-production. This is an actual stage that the visual effects are actually applied to the footage during this stage. Like also all the 3D elements or the 3D object or any types of special effects are being developed and being applied to and integrate into the footage, right? We call that a compositing stage as well. Also, the sound editing, a color grading also takes place, and then once everything is done, now is send it off to, to the client or the movie studio for the final delivery. Okay. So this looks to be a fairly complicating looking diagram that I'm showing to you right now. I just kind of visually break it down every stage of how the VFX production is actually being done. Okay. So if you're actually looking at from the very far left, this is the starting out at the pre-production stage, right? So idea, initial concept, and story. Script is being developed, right? Sketches, brainstorming, and budget. Okay, and so this is the area that all the initial discussion is being made. And once that stage is completed, then you're moving on to a next stage is more getting into the concept design, storyboarding, animatic, layout, production design stage. So I'm going to talk about in more detail about what each stage refers to, but let me quickly give you a quick overview of that, okay? The animatic is, just think of it as the rough version of animation, or the usually you create very simple 2D animation by using the storyboard panels, and then you just put it together and create a simple motions, and then the concept design is where that you get to sketch out the design for the characters, set, or props, or a number of different things that is required. And layout in production design is more of a kind of designing the set, and is there going to be any CG background need to be integrated into the set, right? So those kind of discussion is being made and being developed. And then once that stage is completed, you're moving on to the previous stage. This stage, think of it as you creating very rough 3D animation. And then showing that to your client or your directors, right? In that case, they have a better understanding visually how that all the 3D elements or CG elements will be integrated into the footage. Okay. During also at the same time, you see that research and development on the bottom, on the left there, that indicating that along with that is always, so what happens is every shot are quite different, right? So every shot pretty much require different set of the technique or the research or the study needs to be made prior before that thing is actually integrated and actually used by the audience. So this research portion is also extremely important in many cases. So that pretty much up to that part, it pretty much covers the pre-production stage. So this is just more of a close-up version of the earlier diagram that I showed that to you guys. So once again, idea, initial concept, story, script, sketch, brainstorm, budget, and lead to the storyboard, animatic, concept design, layout, production design, and research and development. Okay, and this stage leads to a previous stage, which is called the motion test. I'm just going to quickly stop here. Any questions? Um, everything okay with you guys? Feel free to type anything that you're not sure about, anything you want me to go over more detail. I'll be more than happy to do that. So feel free to let me know. Okay. All right. So let's just quickly dive a little deeper into the stage here. Okay. The first stage, ideas, initial concept, and story. Right. During this stage, story is being created, planning out characters, plot, and the settings. As you know, the story is pretty much the foundation of every great film. Story phase happens as you can see, during pre-production stage. It involves the planning it out characters, plot, or story, or the world creation, right? The world all these characters exist in. During this stage, a lot of brainstorming meeting taking place. So during that time, the screenwriters or the producers of the movie take the idea from during the meeting and turning them into a complete script, right? Yeah, we will get into that, the pre-production stage or production design part. So now we are getting more deeper into the stage part, okay? Along with the R&D as well, okay? So once that initial idea and story is being developed, the next part is moving that written form into a more of visual format. Okay? So during the storyboarding and animatic phase, the artist or the team of artists create this visual representation of the action within the script. So they analyze the character's emotions or setting within the story and use the basic drawing to define the framing from shot to shot, pretty much. So I'm sure many of you have seen the storyboard somewhere before, right? Just think of it as more closely resemble graphic novel or comic book, but it's more formal way. So let me quickly show you some example of the storyboard is being made by some professional artists. So this is one of the storyboard from the Spider-Man, right? So as you can see, it almost kind of feels like a graphic novel or comic book in a way, right? But the focus is more on the action and the motions, right? Rather than the dialogue or anything like that. So this will give the directors or the producers have a better understanding of how the shot is going to be created and how the motion will be leading to the next motions and how the flow of the story is going to be. Um, Obviously, this is actually done by professional storyboard artists, but actual drawing for the storyboard is a lot simpler, right? Sometimes it's not about creating amazing looking drawing for the storyboard, but the main thing is you need to deliver the message, right? So the story has to make sense. The main thing for them is understanding the story and the flow of the story, pretty much, or how the flow of the actions or motions. Okay. So the next part is once the storyboard is being created, the next stage is usually lead to the animatic stage. The animatic is, think of it as just grabbing the panels from the storyboard and then putting it together and using After Effects or other compositing software to create the simple motion of animation. So let me quickly play that out. It doesn't have audio on it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But as you can see, this one has a bit of more integration, for example, like 3D elements into it. But in many cases, it doesn't even require that. So obviously, this is not really 3D, just, it's fairly developed a animatic. It's great for setting up the timing, setting up the camera angle, right? Oh, he just lost the tooth. Okay, so this is what we call the animatic. There's a lot of different forms of animatic also existing, but just think of it this way. In many cases, if you're actually working as an artist, this kind of thing is already being prepared to you when you start working already. So you will most likely get it, and then you know, the responsibility is more specific, and your role will be, it's more. But this animatic is also very important for the initial stage, for the creation of the story. The movie is involve a lot of people, a lot of artists, a lot of staff, actors, so many different people involved. So the pre-planning is extremely important. Otherwise, it's gonna cost money. Also, it's gonna cost more, take more time. So it's not really ideal in that sense. Okay.